are you? And welcome to another podcast by George. We're going to talk some roots music today. We're going to talk some blues music, and we're kind of returning to my roots. We're out on the farm, and we're with Matt Woods, a blues extraordinaire. He's a native of Iowa. Now, this is from his bio, and I just love this stuff. Just listen to this. A long-standing purveyor of the diverse blues scene. As a seasoned performer of many local, regional, and national clubs and venues, Matt's developed a distinct style while staying true to his love of traditional American roots music. Woods is well-versed in the many shapes this music can take, from traditional Delta, hill country, and urban electric blues to gospel country and folk music. It says Matt's been performing regularly since 2002. He's released 4 albums, got another one on the way. We're going to talk about that. He's also won the Iowa Blues Challenge and gone on to represent the state in the International Blues Challenge an unprecedented 3 times. Matt's first solo album, If I Was a Fish, finished. I got that album. Who's that kid on? Is that your kid holding the fish?
No, that's me.
Okay, that looked like an old photo, and it looked too big for one of your boys. Okay. Finished in the top 5 of the International Blues Foundation's Best Self-Produced CD category in 2006. His 2 subsequent albums with the Thunderbolts have also gained national attention. 2007's Be My Friend was referred to as blistering by Dirty Linen Magazine and Living Blues Magazine, called 2010's Matt Woods and the Thunderbolts a smoking amalgam of Hound Dog Taylor and Freddie King. Additionally, Blues Review called the album raw, hypnotic, and very appealing. Now, his most recent album, prior to the one that's coming out, was called Sawdust and Gasoline. It was released in 2015. And it received extensive airplay in the U.S. and Europe, finished in the top 5 of the International Blues Foundation's Best Produced CD category in 2015, and has recently been nominated by Blues Blast magazine for Album of the Year in the acoustic blues category. But he's my kind of guy, because we're sitting in the kind of house that I grew up on, in a territory that I know a lot about, growing up on the farms of Iowa. Tell us about the farm to start with, Matt.
Well, it's not a conventional farm like you would think. Most of my farming is done through Iowa State University, so I'm an agronomist by trade, and I do a lot of work on the Iowa State Research Farm. So this is more of an acreage than it is a farm, and kind of a little hobby farm. But most of my farming stuff is done through Iowa State University. So,
and this is the part of Iowa I explain to people. Once you get north of Highway 30. Up to Highway 20, that's when you get the really good dirt.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you get up around Webster City and Fort Dodge. I used to live up there for a while, and people from out of town would stop and ask farmers when they were working the field. This is true. This is a true story. Whether or not there was oil in the dirt up here because it was so black. I mean, and if you're from another part of the country and you're used to red Georgia clay or Missouri or something like that, I mean, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But the dirt is black, and it's good here. And what do you do for the agronomy element of it? How does that work?
Well, I'm actually employed by the agronomy department of Iowa State, and I manage 2 research projects for the agronomy department.
So do you work with the dirt?
I work with the dirt. I work with the plants. Yeah, I work with everything. So yeah. I get plenty of that stuff under my fingernails.
Well, that's great. And the new album that's coming out, that's a good segue into that, because the name of it is Tired and Dirty.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is what you get working on the farm. I remember looking in that bathroom sink when my dad would come in after working the fields, and my God, people get dirty. It's the kind of job when you take a shower after you come home from work.
We shower at night.
Yeah. But not before you go to work. So yeah, that's great. Well, I've always thought of you and this great traditional blues music that you do, and this great sound that you have, and the instruments that you use, and I get a connection or a feel for the land, for the rural element of that tie to farming, that comes through your music, because you didn't grow up in a cotton field.
No.
You didn't grow up on a levee on the Mississippi.
No.
Or in the Delta.
No.
But you've got this great feel for that kind of music. And I got to believe it's got something to do with this lifestyle.
Yeah, I think, a lot of my inspiration comes from, the traditional music, which is it's a rural form of music, and definitely, living in that environment, it kind of rubs off on you, so to speak. So.
And it's blues music. I saw something about you online, I think it was, and it was a quote from somebody, something about you're not going to hear any rock and roll. But if it's the right kind of blues done the right way, you're not going to miss rock and roll.
That's right, right. Yeah, I like to say that I do American music, and what I mean by that is all, as you mentioned in the bio, sort of all forms of traditional American music, whether it's blues or roots music or it's complicated. There's a lot of different things kind of rolled into it.
Yeah,
so, a lot of different influences.
Take us on a journey now. Tell us about the travels of your music, going back to a young Matt Woods to where you're at today.
Well, young Matt Woods didn't know much about it. I grew up in Des Moines, and my entire life was I'm a reformed athlete. I say my entire life up until about 21 years old was baseball. I played baseball every chance I got, all through high school. I played college ball at a small college here in Iowa, and that was kind of my whole life.
God, it's a great game.
I
I love baseball.
Still love it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Still love it.
I've told people that if you can be a major league pitcher or the lead singer in a rock band or the lead actor in a movie, they've all got that same, I don't know, attraction.
I suppose.
It's pretty similar.
I'll take your word for it.
What'd you play in baseball?
I ended up being a pitcher. I played a lot of things up through high school, but once I got into college, you kind of get a little more specialized. I couldn't hit worth a damn, so I just ended up throwing the ball.
Yeah, so. Big left-hander.
Yeah.
What was your best stuff? What'd you have?
I was a junk baller.
Were you?
Yeah.
Did you hurt your arm?
Noodle arm. I always had a noodle arm. No, I just kind of. It's hard to say. I just kind of lost my passion for playing. Things weren't working out as I'd hoped they would when I got to that sort of next level. And so I sort of actually picked up guitar I sort of ended my career as a senior in college and picked up a guitar to basically fill that hole. I mean, that was kind of it was always something I wanted to do. I grew up around music kind of and always was interested in it. And I basically just decided one day, I always wanted to play guitar. I think I'll just try it. And so I asked my dad if he'd get me a guitar for my 21st birthday.
Yeah.
And he did. And I have not put it down. I've touched it every single day since.
Wow.
So about 19 years.
You batted left?
I batted right through.
You batted right through left.
Yeah.
And you play left guitar. Was there ever any? Did you try right-handed? Was it always left-handed?
No, it was always left-handed. I kind of just picked up and held it the way.
It seemed natural, huh?
Seemed natural.
Yeah.
Seemed a lot more comfortable. Just playing air guitar as a kid. That's always kind of the way my hands went or whatever. So it's always been that way.
Yeah.
So it's a curse. I go into a guitar shop and I see all these beautiful guitars on the wall and I can't do anything with them. So it's kind of can be difficult sometimes, but it keeps me out of trouble. I don't buy a bunch of guitars.
Yeah. Well, tell us about the music progression then, because you didn't grow up in the Delta. You didn't grow up around a bunch of blues players.
No. So when I started out, I was basically, learning to strum some chords like everybody does, trying to figure out how to make my C chord, and the F chord was driving me nuts, and all this kind of thing. And then I heard, probably just a few months into my playing, I heard Son House for the first time, and that changed my life from that moment on. And that music was all I cared about. So I didn't get very far. I never went through the phase of like playing in, rock cover bands or top 40 bands or whatever. I was in that from, I started a little late compared to most, but pretty much from the moment I started, I was.
Wow. So the entry point, the doorway, that led through Son House.
That's right.
Yeah. And at this time, how old were you at this time?
I was 21, around about there.
So a lot of people try to play guitar, Matt. I've picked one up before. It's very hard.
It is very hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard every day,
Yeah.
Still.
And you stayed with it every day, and you work on it.
Yeah.
And
when all my friends were partying and doing whatever, and I was practicing. So that's how I spent the first few years. Well, actually, it was probably a good 5 or 6 years of playing before I missed a day of playing.
Yeah.
I mean, before I just went on vacation and didn't have a guitar in my hand for a 24-hour period, it was probably a good 5 or 6 years into playing. So
I'm interested in this baseball thing because that was my background too. I had a little bit of ability in that area, and I tell people when it comes to music or when I talk about myself, I've got talent. I just haven't been able to locate it. I don't know exactly where it's at. But you had some ability in baseball.
Well,
when did you know when in the music did you know, oh, I'm better at the music than I am at baseball? That means I might be able to be really good at this.
Well, I'm still have not realized that. I'm just stubborn as hell, and I still have the desire and the passion to play every single day, and that's why I do it. I don't necessarily feel that I'm any more talented than anyone else, but I've banged my head through the wall as well as anybody else. You know what I mean? I've just ran into that wall over and over and over again, and that's the only way I've figured out anything.
Yeah.
So I understand that some people are more predetermined to have certain skills or whatever. I don't necessarily view myself as musically gifted in any way. I don't understand, I don't read music. I don't understand music in that way, in this kind of schooling kind of way. But I've just ran my head into that wall a million times.
Well, we're going to play some. You're very modest. We're going to play some of your music on the podcast because, I hear what you're saying. But you've got the blues. The blues are in you. The sound that you have is unmistakable. I remember reading B.B. King's autobiography, and he said, you don't have to be from Mississippi. You don't have to be, as a matter of fact, he said the blues don't have to be sad at all. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a droopy drawers to play the blues. You just got to have it in you. And you've got that sound, and these awards and this acknowledgement, recognition that you've gotten from people proves that out. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if maybe it's not intrinsic, maybe it's learned, maybe it's a little bit of both, but that music's in you. Is the new album going to be a progression of the blues, or is it going to be similar to what you've done before? Describe what's coming here.
People ask me that a lot, and especially being a white guy from Iowa, like how did I end up doing this? But the only thing I can tell you, or anyone that asks, is that I don't know. Like, this is when I sit down to play or make music in whatever form that is, this is what comes out. I don't sit down. I've never sat down and thought, this is the direction I want to take musically. This is just what I do. Like, and I can't play a Leonard Skinner song worth a damn on guitar. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. But so when I sit down, like, this is just what happens.
Yeah.
So that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Whether it's internal or it's learned or a combination of both, I guess I can't speak to that. It's just what comes out.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned it. I've promoted it here. Let's pick a song from the new album. If there's a good preview of what's to come here, what would be the first song that you think people ought to maybe listen to?
I don't know. I'm gonna do a little instrumental song off the album.
That's great.
Those I never like to sing, so instrumentals are my favorite kind to play. So I can do one of those.
The guy's modest. He's really good. So, all right, let's hear does it have a name? The instrumental? Or?
Yeah. So this one is. I couldn't figure out what to name it, and so I took a little online poll of what to name this song. And during that process, my 4-year-old son came up with a title. So we chose to call this one "Train Goes By." We've got a train that runs not too far over the hill there, so he called it "Train Goes By."
That's cool. All right, "Train Goes By" off the new album "Tired and Dirty."
That's right. Yeah.
By Matt Woods. Here it is. That song's that's got a little bit of everything. That's got you're using the slide finger pick. And tell us about the guitar, because I mentioned when I first saw it that we did a podcast recently with Todd Park Moore, and he's got that same kind of guitar, that National.
It's a National steel guitar, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that goes way back, right?
Yeah, they were invented in the basically the mid to late 1920s.
Yeah.
So that's something that's been around for a while. That one's not as old, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, was there a reason for it? Why did they make a steel guitar?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So if you think back to the 1920s, obviously there was no electricity. So guitar players were all acoustic guitar players, no matter what they were doing. And these were invented so that basically jazz guitar players in a big band setting could keep up with, in terms of volume, could keep up with like horn players and horn sections and things like that. So they're quite a bit louder than like a flat top acoustic guitar or
I
whatever.
see.
So that was kind of, they've got a little built-in amplifier in the form of a aluminum cone that kind of fires the sound out like a cannon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And when Todd talks about it, he mentions that Memphis Minnie was, and I found this hard, but she was the first woman to front a blues band, first one to play standing up, I think he says, because everybody else played sitting down
Right,
or something like that. And it can be played acoustically or electrically, right? Or
Well, it depends. This one I've got a pickup in it, so I can plug it into an amplifier if I need to. But
yeah, cool. And the song's got a great title. Your boy knew what he was doing. You
right.
can't go wrong with a train song.
Right. Well, I felt like I didn't want to. If he made that suggestion, I better go with it. Otherwise, it'd make my wife mad. So.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So, and that's on the new one. Tell us about the title. Where did that come from?
Well, there's a song on the album called "Always Tired," and it just kind of led me to the title of that album. I like to have titles of albums that are kind of almost hidden within the material of the album. So kind of a reference to that, I suppose. And it's just kind of my lifestyle. It just seems like I'm always tired and I'm always dirty. So,
Well, that's great. Well, and I know it's not easy to sell music, but I know you'll sell some CDs. There won't be any vinyl. See, I'm a vinyl guy. I love this. You're not going to make any vinyl records, are you?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. It seems like people have been clamoring a lot more for that lately, but they're just so dang expensive to produce, and you don't, as a independent artist, and this is kind of a one-man shop, so I don't want to end up stuck with a bunch of expensive vinyl that I can't sell. So that'll be a business decision I'll make a little bit farther down the road, I think. So right now I'll have CDs available December 12th and some digital download cards that people can buy if they don't have an interest in having a physical CD and just want the digital music. So.
That's great. So tell us again a little bit more of the career track. You get this going at about age 21. And you had a lot of success with a band called the Thunderbolts.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So pretty much within, I'd say, 3 to 4 months of picking up a guitar for the first time, I started playing gigs. I started playing live. I have not played less than 100 shows per year since 2002. So that was the only way that I could figure out to really get the experience that I needed to get better, is just to play. I always say that one show is worth 10 rehearsals, just because once you get in front of people, there's nowhere to hide or whatever, so to speak. So that's kind of how I made my way. I've always been kind of a live performer. I'm still learning how to be a good studio musician, but so I started out playing solo for doing the solo thing, kind of like what I'm back doing now, for the first 4 years. And then I would play with several bands around central Iowa, kind of local bands or whatever. I started my own band in 2006. I'd actually hired Scott Cochran, the bass player, and Michael Swanger, the drummer. I'd hired them to play on my first record. I just wanted a simple backing band for a couple songs on my first album. And we seemed to really hit it off and work together well. So I started booking that as that trio Matt Woods and the Thunderbolts, started booking that exclusively, and we played together for, about 8 years, I think.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time together. Kind of went around a lot of stops around Iowa and then the Midwest, spreading out into the Midwest. So that ended in 2012. 2012 was, I think, our last show together. The drummer, who I have always considered to be like my musical brother. I mean, I've never clicked with anybody musically like I did with him. We were just on the same page with musically with everything. He ran into some health problems, had to have a couple back surgeries, decided he wanted to retire, couldn't play drums anymore, and certainly couldn't keep up the pace that we were keeping up, which was understandable. So upon his retirement, we kind of all decided, and I decided, that I did not want to continue that band without him. I mean, to me, the Thunderbolts are Matt, Michael, and Scott.
Yeah.
Those three guys. And so we, disbanded. I started back relearning all my solo chops, had to go back to the woodshed and learn how to perform as a solo act, all over again. And I've been doing that for the last 5 or 6 years now, almost exclusively, and then kind of playing with some bands here and there and getting as much studio work as a guitar player as I can get along the way. So I like to stay busy in that regard. So.
Well, I get to catch you a solo act, and then once a month, everybody gets to see you here locally with the Butter Cow Blues Band.
Right, yeah.
And our friend Bob Pace, who pops up on this podcast quite a bit. We've got his music in there. I mean, that's a great sound, but that's a once a month thing,
that's
right?
Kind of a once a month deal. So we've all got our own projects going. So we kind of decided to make that a special, kind of a special occasion, a once a month thing where we get together as a band and play. And it started out with just Bob. It was kind of his brainchild, and he got some players together that he kind of always wanted to work with, or we'd had worked with in the past, or whatever. We wanted to do a little bit more, and it kind of just started out on a whim, on a Wednesday night thing, and it's became pretty popular. And so the venue, fortunately, that Lefties in Des Moines, has kept us around.
Yeah.
So we've been doing that every Wednesday for a number of years now. I don't remember 2 or 3 years now. So
it's great stuff, and I've been thinking of you for the past couple of months because, and again it goes. I keep thinking about this interview that I did with Todd Park Moore. It was right after Aretha died, and one of his biggest influences, and I mean everybody's influence, obviously, was Aretha Franklin. And he could talk about that. One of the great songs that you have, that Otis Rush tune that you do, and Otis died here a couple of months ago. Great Chicago blues man. How did you come to that song, Double Trouble?
Yeah, I don't know. I've always done a handful of Otis songs, and I've just sort of been gravitating towards that lately for I don't know, whatever reason, but I like to. It's one of my favorites to perform. Double Trouble. Yeah.
I mean, it's a
great one. Yeah.
I've got some favorites of yours. Of course, that Tom Waits song that you do, and who the hell plays Tom Waits? But you play that 219 song is a big fan favorite.
Yeah, people like that one.
Yeah. And again, it's got this farm thing, this angle, this rural deal. Tom Waits, you know much about that guy?
I don't think anybody knows much about Tom, but I know probably about as much as one can about him. I'm a big fan of his. And
he did that song Downtown Train, which sounds like an urban dweller. I mean, a guy that hangs around subways and stuff like that. And then this 219, I mean, it sounds like the guy grew up in rural Americana. I mean,
he's a genius.
The lyrics are just
for my money, he's America's finest songwriter.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just that. Period.
That's fabulous. I really, every time I hear that, man, I'm glad he's doing that, because a lot of people don't like Tom Waits because of his voice or, the way that he does his songs or whatever. But my God, what a songwriter.
Yeah, definitely some of it's easier to listen to than others, other bits of it. But yeah, there's his ability as a songwriter and as a arranger and composer is, undeniable, I think.
It's an acquired taste. I mean, you got Tom Waits, Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan, and those guys are, what do you mean you throw Lou Reed into some of that stuff? I mean, their vocals are not, it's an acquired taste. Mm-hmm. I mean, but when you consider that they're singing what they wrote, I mean, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. So let's pick up another song. I want to give people a listen to hear to something that's got the vocal on it. All right, so this is another song off the new album. This is called Bootleg Me Mama.
That's right.
Matt Woods.
I don't care where we go, as long as I know that you're mine. Bootleg me, mama, carry me in the trunk of your car. Bootleg me, mama, carry me in the trunk of your car. I don't care where you carry me, babe, as long as I know just the way you are. Fuel tank is full, tire pressure's high. I don't see no state trooper, I wouldn't tell you no lie. Bootleg me, mama, carry me across state line. I don't care where you carry me, as long as I know that you're mine. We made our connection in the dark of the night. Bootleg me, mama, doing wrong feels so right. Bootleg me, mama, carry me across state line. I don't care where you carry me, as long as I know that you're mine. We could take county roads, lonesome backwoods trail. Bootleg me, mama, I'm gonna wind up in jail. Bootleg me, mama. I don't care where we go, as long as I know that you're mine.
Oh, that's great. That's Bootleg Me Mama, Matt Woods, off his new album, Tired and Dirty. Which is, or is it Dirty and Tired? I keep getting
Tired and Dirty.
Tired and Dirty. Okay, that's a great. I mean, that's a great song. I mean, I listen to that and I can almost hear the scratches in the '78. I mean, that is really traditional Prohibition area. I mean, type blues, and of course, which is what bootlegging is all about. I mean, it's done out of the trunk of a car, and of course, the main concern, you can bootleg on a local level, but if you bootleg across state lines, that's when the revenuers get involved. That's when the federal, that's where you got issues, and that's where a lot of guys got into some serious trouble back in the day. You know, like I tell people, you can mess with the local cops if you want to, but you don't want to mess with the feds. They don't have any. They got no sense of humor. Yeah. Ah, that's great stuff. All right, bootleg me, mama. Well, that's cool. So now, do you just do you have a course that you're charting here? I mean, do you have a plan for your music, or do you just go day to day, gig to gig? It's just going to go where it goes tomorrow, and who knows what's next?
Yeah, I mean, I guess ultimately we all kind of want to be respected for what we do, and especially when you put as much time into it as you have to in this sort of field or whatever. But I try not to worry about that. It's great if people like it, although I don't try to spend a whole lot of time obsessing about whether or not people like this. I kind of do this for myself. I guess I have two goals. I want to be the best guitar player in the world, and I want to be respected by the people that I respect for it. So I guess there's not really a charted, there's not a chart, there's not a territory out there, I guess. This is my life's work. So I'll keep doing it for just as long as I can do it.
Yeah, well, I talk to a lot of folks. I think you're there. I mean, I think you're highly respected and highly regarded. Well, we're going to end the show. I'm going to pick up a song, unless you can play it now. There's a song of yours that you do, and you've got it on YouTube.
You're going to put me on the spot?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, this again reminds me of my youth so much. One of my earliest memories of my dad is going out to the barn I mean, a toddler, maybe a little older than that. A lot of commotion going on out there. I walk out into the barn and in a enclosed pen there. Here's my old man, and he's got a hog between the knees, and he's got a hand wringer in his hand, and he's wringing the noses on these hogs because they root. A lot of people don't realize what a problem hogs can be, and I don't know, certain breeds are worse at it. He used to tell me what it was when I was a kid. My God, that hog was screaming. There was blood and snot flying everywhere. I thought I'd walked into a horror show. Here was my dad, my God, wringing this hog's nose again to try to keep him from rooting. And you've got this song called Rock Road Blues that you do, and it starts off talking about these hogs rooting. And of course, I tell people I grew up on a dirt road, and then they rocked it. If you grow up on a farm in Iowa, you know how important it was when they rocked the roads, because the mud roads, I mean, a lot of people never went within a 15-mile radius, never went outside of a 15-mile radius of their home.
Yeah, they couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah, because of the mud. I mean, when it rained, if it rained for days, you didn't go anyplace for days. I mean, you could, unless you took the horse or a tractor, to get off of the farm, it was a big deal. And a lot of city folks say that they live on gravel roads. No. Gravel, that's river gravel. Not the roads weren't gravel, they were rock. So I see this song, Rock Road Blues, and I think, man, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. I really like that. So can you play that? Or
yeah, I can. I think I can. I'm a little rusty, but I'll give it a shot. I just need a minute to retune here, and we can give that one a shot.
Okay, all right, let's do that one. Okay, so when you listen to the song, I want everybody to think about these hogs that burrow under fences, under foundations. I mean, they almost can't be penned in unless you wring their noses, which is what my dad was doing when I went out to the barn that day. So that's what I think of when I listen to this song. It's a great tune. Rock Road Blues by Matt Woods.
Hope he stays close to home in this rock road.
Ah, that's great, man. It sounds great on that National Steel guitar. That's Rock Road Blues, Matt Woods. You got to love that. Boy grows up. I hope he stays close to home. Now they've rocked the road. Maybe he won't even get to town and get the hell out of here. But it was mud, boy. You didn't go very far. Oh, that's good stuff. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. I appreciate you sharing your music with us and talking about this trail, this travel, this journey that we're on through the blues music. That's great stuff, man. Give us the particulars again for the your website or Facebook page or however people follow you.
Yep, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and the best way to find me is at my website, mattwoodsmusic.com. It's got all the information, show dates, where you can order CDs, and you can connect to me on the other social media platforms through my website. So mattwoodsmusic.com is the best
that's
place to
great.
go.
We'll put a link or, I don't know, something on our websites, too, for Podcast by George. Thanks to everybody for listening in again. And that's another podcast by George.